This is Timothy Gordon. Spring is nearly here, and accordingly, we're opening up 2 new sections of classes for the spring: Church History and Rules for Retrogrades. Church History is a repeat course from the fall. It was so successful that many people could not get in and want to in the spring. Rules for Retrogrades is a new course based on my book with my brother, Community Organizing from the Right. Go to timothyjgordon.com for information. Also at timothyjgordon.com, a pre-recorded Catholic Republic course on sale. What's up, parish orphans and retrogrades? I come to you with a super special show today. None other than Mr. Milo Yiannopoulos himself. He's a man that needs no introduction. He's a notoriously straight Southern gentleman of leisure. And more importantly, he's a man that I just did his show. We did them back to back, and we were ribbing each other. But I do want to say this guy legitimately gave me my start. Lots of people wrongly point at Taylor Marshall, but it was long before that. It was actually Milo who published Catholic Republic and gave that book some life after it had been rejected on contract by Catholic Answers Press. So I'm genuinely grateful to Milo, and he's a talented guy, and he's been in Catholic news a lot the last 2 weeks. So thanks a million, Milo, and thanks for coming on the show today.
Of course. I've been introduced in my life with a lot of superlatives, but I think this is the one I really don't deserve. A Southern gentleman. Now I'm going to have to work my way up to that one. Where I'm aspiring to gentlemanliness. It's not the first thing people think of when they think of me, but I appreciate the gesture nonetheless.
Does it make you mad when people call you a provocateur? It kind of makes me mad on your behalf. I think you're a guy with real substance. I did a podcast on you in August of 2020, and I was like, there's real substance to Milo, and I think we need his voice in the commentariat, and it has nothing to do with the provocateur. I think we need guys with sharp edges. I don't
take provocateur to mean substanceless. But what I do, which I understand people are occasionally uncomfortable with, is like Ann Coulter, very good friend of mine, that her routine, if you like, is she's got sort of plausible deniability about being provocative for its own sake, because she never does theatrical over the top stuff, right? She never clowns around. She never plays court jester. She never plays the fool. And so, but nonetheless, she says things that she does believe in ways that she knows will produce particular reactions, because that's the best way to get the word out, right? You need somebody to blow open the fire door so people can come in and say, well, I don't agree with that, but... So I just see myself as a successor or an heir to that and the way that I do things is more colorful and foul-mouthed, because that's what the times require. That's what my generation and the next generation after that needs in order to be remotely interested in it. So although I think provocateur is lazy, I think a better analysis is more like a court jester or a fool who says, who reveals truth through comedy and is often the voice of the audience, or is connecting with the audience in stage plays, and sort of saying, can you believe this, SH, whatever. Although, I don't really spend a lot of time worrying about what people call me. I just do what I do. There are many hundreds of people in America who are paid to come up with labels for me and others. I don't spend a lot of time worrying about that. I just do what I want to do. I will say that I do self-consciously package things that I already believe, that are sincere, that are real, in ways that I know will be enjoyable and start conversations. But I don't say anything I don't mean, and I don't do it just for its own sake. And as you kindly and correctly say, it's not said out of an ignorance or a lack of reading. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I just don't spend a lot of time worrying about what people call me.
Yeah, well, you got a high mark from a friend of mine at the Daily Wire. You have a funny back and forth relationship with Ben Shapiro, but I'm friends with Michael Knowles, and he did a little 8-minute segment after your March 9th announcement where he said, look, I'm not so surprised. People call this guy a provocateur. And Knowles said, well, I travel in some Catholic circles. Knowles is a very faithful Latin Mass going Catholic. We've been to Latin Mass together. He says, I wasn't so surprised because my Catholic friends, he's talking about me and a few others, have told me Milo has real substance, a real reading list. You impressed me with your reading list when you interviewed me. Noteworthy interviews back in 2018, 2019. You interviewed me and you told me I asked you what was at your bedside table, and it's real stuff. So I was one of the least surprised guys in the room. And it was just a great thing when I read your March 9th announcement that you are ex-gay. Now you're a Southern gentleman.
Southern gentleman. Well, we'll see about that. Michael Knowles. I mean, I'm squeamish about people who allow themselves to be surrounded by demons. Although, of course, that's what I do for a living because I know how to beat them. So I'm squeamish about, I do judge people by their friends and judge people by their enemies. So I'm automatically skeptical of anybody who would take a Daily Wire paycheck. However, he seems like a really good guy, and I had a very sweet, very nice email from him. And yeah, so I have to say it changed my mind a little about him because I just kind of written him off as part of the Daily Wire, neocon Inc. problem, but actually he isn't. So one of the many things thousands of things have happened in the last 2 weeks, but one of the good things that's happened is I've come to him with a fresh eye, and he seems like a good guy.
He's an extremely good guy. Yeah, one of the most sincere people I've met in a long time, let alone in this business. I think
he's obviously got a nice humility too, because I replied to his email saying, "You're a lot cooler than you let on, aren't you?" And he didn't reply. He just left it hanging in the air, which is exactly kind of, I think, the appropriate response of like humility and whatever. So anyway, yeah, he seems cool. So I'd
like to see an interview. Yeah, it would be good.
I've been very pleasantly surprised. There are a lot of people who, and I won't name names just because there's no point bullying people, but there's been a lot of people who wouldn't touch me with a barge pole since 2017. But now that I'm in the news again, I'm like, oh, would you like to come on the show? And I'm just leaving those invitations unread because I don't believe in rewarding cowardice. If you're the kind of person who only wants to talk to me when it is safe to do so, like, we have nothing to offer each other. It's a no. Yeah. And I'm probably hurting myself by doing this, but I don't know any other way to live, I'm probably hurting my quote-unquote comeback by doing this, but I just don't care. All the conservative shows that now want me on, I'm just ignoring them. Because, if they weren't interested in having me on for 4 years because they didn't want, they didn't want the hassle or they didn't want whatever, but now I'm back in the news and I'm interesting and exciting again, whatever. I just don't have time for people like that. Right. So what has surprised me, however, is the sincere and loving reaction from Christian right, and not just Catholics, who have said, we saw it coming, we've been praying for you, this is not a surprise to us, and just the you don't get anywhere else in public life, in any other group, no matter what your politics, you'll never see an outpouring of sincere good wishes and good feelings and love and prayer like you get from conservative Christians in the US. And they don't get everything right, and sometimes they can be cowards, and sometimes they're just confused, and I think they're used to being beaten up on, so they kind of take a lot of they take a lot of punching without punching back, and blah blah blah. Right. But I've been very moved and touched by the response from American Christians.
Yeah, think of the response that a lot of would-be abortion mothers later report about walking in front of like an abortion clinic. They say, they've been fed all of these tropes and caricatures of the right-wing Christian, Protestant or Catholic, and they think they're going to get hate and be called names, and then they're like, these people are amazing.
These just a nice old lady who wants to just tell you her story and say, please think about this twice. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. On the other hand, I'm sort of nipping at the heels of particularly the Catholic right that's saying this doesn't need to be a trad versus Novus Ordo thing. This needs to be, we need to be tougher, and we need to be having street fights and things like that. But okay, let's
I think I was born to, in another life, in another generation, I think I was born to be in the Gestapo. Like, what I do better than anybody else is friendly fire. I mean, I was born to root out and excommunicate bad apples on my own side. It's just a particular talent and knack and love that I have for calling out bad people on my own side. So I have to be very careful about some of that decision making, like who I go after and all the rest of it. Because once I come for you, you're done. You know, I have to think very carefully about some of those questions. You know, the sort of, are we better just whatever, or you know. But I think it's a struggle for all of us who are Latin mass people, who are, you know, conservative Catholics, who are, you know, troubled by all of the fallout and consequence from Vatican II. I think we have to fight a daily war against purity spiraling and against, you know, demanding too much from people. I certainly have to catch myself.
Yeah.
Thinking especially like, who are you to be telling somebody their Catholicism is no good? But I think those of us who are filled with, you know, glad and angry faith, as Chesterton would put it, we have to fight a daily war against not excommunicating too many allies.
Right. It was a hilarious part of your March 9th interview, by the way, was when you're saying that, and Noel said he enjoyed this a lot. You know, the fact that you want to get high on your high horse so that you can judge. That was just good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, left or right, male or female, gay or straight, who doesn't love the absurd, insane prospect of me being like self-righteously homophobic in about 6 months' time, like, you know, on some pedestal somewhere, barnstorming about unrepentant sodomites? Who doesn't want to see that?
There's no one. If they're being honest, there's no one. It's good stuff. And yeah, so tell me about this. I don't want to talk to you for you know, another half hour about an interview that they could watch on LifeSite or Church Militant, but I'm just going to ask you this one line. You said, "I was never wholly at home in the gay lifestyle," who is great, short line, pithy, punchy, whatever. Like, can you just tell me about that line, why it's so true? It's so true.
It's very difficult to tell people that something that they think of as part of their character and personality, and leftist culture and progressive culture have been telling gay people it's what you are and who you are for generations now. So people grow up thinking that their sexual orientation is a part of who they are, and it isn't.
Right.
And it's very difficult to explain that to people. But I've always been somebody gifted and cursed with great powers of introspection and analysis. And I have always known about myself that this was a cluster of symptoms, a response to childhood trauma. And I've always known that there are a variety of things that happened to me and stuff I had and didn't have and all the rest of it, but that pushed me in that direction. Now, people are born with different predispositions toward this kind of urge, but there are things in early life that, you know, can make the difference. And I've always known that this was something I did rather than somebody I was, which concords with church teaching and also with the latest in, you know, innovation, the latest thinking in psychology and psychiatry. It just took me coming to the realization of what it was and why I was doing it happened ages ago. The only thing that's really new, the only thing that's I've really changed is that I've now committed to stop indulging and to stop giving in to that behavior. That's the new bit, because I've always known how I felt about it, and I've always known, you know, that what it was.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been easy. It's but it is true about the thing about men is, like, the less you have, the less you want, you know. You can so once you get past the initial couple of weeks, it becomes a lot easier on a day-to-day basis. Men are a bit like that, you know. Men are creatures of routine and habit, and it's the same thing with, like, working out, with strength training. Like, everything is about stamina and routine, right? So once you start doing something a lot, you start to not miss it anymore, and the whole thing becomes easier.
Yeah, good. Well, again, good for you. And in the years between, I guess, 18, 19, 20, a lot's happened to me, a lot's happened to you. But my family's always prayed for you. And number two, like, you know this, you can attest to it, because I don't care. I don't do shows that'll be popular or not popular. I brought on 2 heavyweight boxing champs, and a lot of the trads are like, we don't care about that. But you always had a standing invitation to come on this show as soon as I started doing this solo.
Well, thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of the reason I wasn't accepting invitations like that is, I kind of felt like there was something coming down the slipway for me, and I should just sit tight for a bit. And then I realized what it was, and now I'm reluctantly being dragged out of retirement, I suppose.
Yeah, good. Well, I did a show called Why Milo Still Matters last August, and I did make reference to the fact, I don't know if you watched it, but I made reference to the fact that sometimes I think, and maybe I'm wrong, it's psychoanalysis. No one wants to hear someone else's nickel and dime psychoanalysis, but in 17, 18, 19, I mean, you're a tremendous performer, but what I got to know when you published the book, and we talked some and texted more than anything through your reading list, and just things that you would say, like the real Milo, is this is a tremendously talented cultural commentator, and he's Catholic, and your hook is just being good at what you do, and the gimmick or whatever, not that the lifestyle you repudiated, being gayness or whatever, not that was just a gimmick, that was all too real, but you don't have to be like whatever, the gay commentator that's super Catholic that does a talk called "The Catholic Church is Right About Everything." You're just a talented commentator that says the Catholic Church is right about everything. Anything. This was my point in the video, and I think a lot of people watched that and said, that's really true. We just need sharp, incisive commentation that doesn't pull punches, and that's what you do, and that's why.
Thanks for the compliment. I appreciate that, and thanks for the video. My gift and my curse is I see things a little bit earlier than everybody else, and I can kind of see around corners a little bit, so I know the way things are going, and which is what means that I'm always the canary in the coal mine, or the patient zero for anything that the left is going to throw, at the right culturally, whether it's social media bans or whatever. I'm always saying things that are just a little bit too much, even for my own side. So in that, I'm comfortable with the fact that I'm always going to be like, I'm going to have to get a whole new heterosexual frame of reference, so forgive me for this, but I'm never going to be a Nicki Minaj, but I'm always going to be like a Remy Ma. I'm always going to be like, somebody who will...
Are those people? I've been living the heterosexual lifestyle the whole time. I don't even know.
Yeah, for female rappers, I got to stop that. What I mean to say is, and this is going to sound terribly conceited, but I speak only facts. I'm always going to be somebody who is untouchable even to some of their own friends because of the risks that I will take, who invents whole genres, who directs the way that culture flows, but is a name you can't speak, or is, kind of just a dodgy person to touch. And one of the things I said in the LifeSite interview is I have known that my destiny is going to be like, Jack Bauer in 24. There's a more heterosexual reference.
Yeah, much.
Somebody who does things that are necessary, without which the republic will fall, but which nobody wants to own up to, and nobody wants to acknowledge, to the point where even, he has to go on the run sometimes. I know that's my thing. So it's always appreciated when somebody does stick their head up to have a conversation with me, because there's never entirely without consequence.
Right. No, and it's a grandiose metaphor, but I thought it was a fair one when I read the LifeSite interview. And again,
it is
kudos
what it is.
to.
I mean, look, I destroyed
them
feminism for 2 generations of young men, and then I helped to put a president in office. It is what it is. Sorry for being big-headed, but it's if that's arrogant, then fair enough. But unlike most people who bloviate on the internet, I got the goods to back it up. So sorry, but it is what it is. Now I'm hoping to do the same thing all over again by striking at the heart of progressive cultural orthodoxy, which is the Born This Way mythology, which has been a lie ever since it was invented in the 80s and 90s as a foil to the religious right. It's a lie now, and that's why at the moment I'm looking into. I'm more than looking into. I'm taking the preparatory steps to opening a what I will call a conversion therapy clinic, because if they're really upset about that phrase, that's the phrase I should use, in Florida. So basically, just somewhere that I can give speeches from. We'll have an auditorium because that solves a problem for me. We'll do research. We'll publish, academic literature and all the rest of it, and then we'll have a program to actually help people who are ready to move out of that lifestyle.
Is that the Milo Center? And you want to give us? Are you taking donations for that? You want to give a source?
No, not yet. And I don't. I would rather figure out all the startup capital stuff with me and a couple of wealthy people I know, and then if somebody is like desperate to throw some money in, we'll do that later. But that's not the priority. This is a point where I think some good people have a little bit of anxiety where I'm concerned, which is, we're calling it the Milo Center, because you're so used to hearing people, I shouldn't be the St. Joseph or whatever. Right. And I do things in a much more obnoxious way than you're used to. But it's effective. And you don't have to necessarily, love it or be especially fond of my personality, which is what it is, gay or straight. I have the personality I have. A lot of people find it very grating. To recognize that what I do is effective and is moving in the right direction and is opening up a space for other people to do it however they want to do it. So people kind of recoil. You're calling it what? But the main focus of what we do is the work. It doesn't matter what we call it, and it doesn't matter what we call the therapy we do. I would very much. I feel a moral obligation, I think, to give other people the best chance they can to get out of it like I did.
Do you have any special daily devotions? Is St. Joseph is second greatest human ever to live? Do you have any special newfound ones or old ones?
Well, we just did a consecration to St. Joseph on my Telegram group, so I was leading that with my producer who, I wasn't leading it. My producer was leading it, and I'm in a situation right now where I'm still in that. A lot of your listeners will be familiar with this, and will probably want to give me a slap. I'm still in that phrase, that space where I'm like, I'm just going to sit at the back of the church and listen quietly because I feel like I don't deserve to participate in anything just yet, And everybody would be like, just get up there, good things will happen. I've been listening and praying and doing my thing privately. I don't like to make too much of a public song and dance about prayer, about the stuff that I do that is the sincere private religious aspect of my life. On the whole, I've found that I'm more comfortable keeping that to myself because I have a lot of, I suppose like any Catholic, I have quite a complicated relationship with God, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So yeah. I tend to keep stuff like that to myself. But I did just do the consecration to St. Joseph using Father Calloway's book, and I'm sympathetic to that point of view. Second greatest human being ever to live. I'll buy that.
Did you just had Father Calloway on your show, right?
Yeah, we just had him on. I asked him whether his whether Ebonics was helping him in his ministry. He's that how do you do fellow kids meme. Sometimes I think of that when he's talking. He's amazing. He's wonderful. I love him, but I just feel like from a priest you want a father figure, not somebody who's like bro. I'm just, I'm just teasing. He's amazing. He's a great man. The book is wonderful, and it's a good thing. So no, he's very cool. He's very cool.
Was it Father Calloway that told a boomer joke? Taylor Marshall didn't want me to tell any more boomer jokes on TNT. And I think it was Calloway. I don't think it was Hollowell. I get Fathers Calloway and Hollowell mixed up. But the next guest, I was in timeout, and he came out and he told a boomer joke, and I was like, I like that guy. Who doesn't tell boomer jokes? But that was 2018. So what are you gonna do? So what? I have a few newfound straight man questions, a newfound Southern gentleman of leisure questions.
Well, listen, I don't like to give interviews on subjects which I am not an expert on. People ask me on podcasts all the time that people ask me the Bitcoin daily, whatever. Like we're the biggest cryptocurrency podcast. Like, I don't know anything about it. Why do you want me? So unlike a lot of people who will just grab attention wherever they can get it, I prefer like controlled explosions. Like I'll be everywhere on my terms on a subject I know what I'm talking about, but I will do the best with your questions. So hit me.
Sure. Okay. So what of the three light beers, domestic,
What if you're go? This is like a pop quiz. Which one would you answer as a straight Southern gentleman of leisure? What would you think the proper answer to give is?
IPAs and stouts and craft beer are all for homosexuals. So the only thing that I would drink, there's also like hipster homosexuals. So the only thing I would drink would be like a light Pilsner lager. I can't honestly tell the difference between them. I can't tell the difference between a Heineken, a Coors Light, and a Stella Artois, and Amstel. They all taste the same to me.
Stella Artois. Okay, that's we're leaving that lifestyle behind, right?
Is Stella Artois a gay beer?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you have to say
because it's Belgian?
It sounds gay, but
I meant
it's
got a French or a Belgian name. No, stop. I'll be honest with you. The beer I really like, which I may have to leave behind, is Bud Light Platinum. Now, Bud Light Platinum is a very special beverage. It comes in this lovely blue bottle with metallic silver. It's a little stronger and a little sweeter than most beers. I feel like it's not entirely congruent with the ex-gay lifestyle. What do you want? Bud Light Platinum. But to be really truthful with you, that's the beer I like the best. That's the one that actually tastes the nicest to me. But honestly, I'm British, so I'm a big beer drinker. But they all taste the same to me. I have no way to distinguish. I will know when it's really taken. When it's really set in, when I might be ready to start dating, when I can tell the difference. When I can do a blind taste test for lager, then I'll know.
Yeah, Miller, Bud, Coors Light. When you can do a blind taste test on that and pass with flying colors, you're ready for the ladies.
You are in the top 10% of heterosexuals.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Can you do that? Can you do the Miller? Coors?
I can.
You can.
I can.
Okay,
Miller tastes like piss. I'm not gonna lie. Miller Light is bad.
That is like that's quite. I'm admiring you slightly in this moment now, being able to kind of like tell between beers. That's a straight aspiration for me.
Yeah, Silver Bullet is up here. Bud Light's, the beer of choice of the South, but I like Coors Light. I can tell all three apart, legit. But yeah, that's good. I had some. Well, let's do this. So I know you're on a limited time scale, but I really appreciate we've done 2 shows back to back, and I really appreciate your time, Milo, and I want you to know that there are a lot of good Catholics out there that continue to pray for you. You're welcome to come on this show anytime, day or night, whatever. If you have an announcement or whatever regarding your endeavors, as they develop.
Yeah. On the last bit of the show that we did on censored.tv, I was giving you a hard time because kind of the whole thing of my show is we get guests on and just roast them and see if they have see if they survive or ever have the balls to come back. So I was giving you a hard time, but I have been watching what you've been doing and I've been really appreciating it and I'm very glad you're out there.
Yeah, thanks. Is that an interview or is true? Because I really wasn't getting mad. You kept saying, "Oh, you're getting mad. You're getting mad." But
it's just something you say to get people mad.
Yeah, that's the main thing you say.
When somebody's fine, when somebody's like literally just fine and enjoying the jokes, and you accuse them of being mad, that's like the one guaranteed thing that will in fact get them mad. And then they'll say something like that makes them sound slightly irritated or pissed off, and then you win.
It's so sneaky because I was like, man,
every conversation has a winner and loser. How do you not know this? Like every human interaction has a winner and loser. You have to just leave the room or leave every interaction with people knowing who the top dog is. Otherwise, why communicate at all? You could just be at home with your Coors Light and your dogs and your guns. Why would you be having a conversation with another man on the internet with soft boxes? I mean, this is all intrinsically faggy. This attention on the internet stuff. If you're going to do it, you may as well let everybody know who the alpha in the room is. So that's my interview technique, anyway.
Yeah, no.
Now we're on your show. I'm being sedate and polite and agreeable. But on my show, my main thing is just to dominate every man that comes on, so people know who top dog is.
Yeah, this is like The Prestige. This is like 2 Christian Bales, like a one that loves his wife and a one that loves Scarlett Johansson or whatever.
Now you're calling yourself Christian Bale, which is a lot to. You know what? It's your show. I'm gonna go with it.
I think people would buy it, but no, actually, you're the Christian Bale in this situation anyway. Though I don't know. Reader response. Let the viewer.
You've gone somewhere. You need to dig yourself out of with that metaphor.
Sure.
He's pretty cool though. I like him.
He's a good actor. I think he's a really underrated actor. Actually, he's in some of my favorite movies of all time. I don't think he's particularly good in that movie, but I love 3:10 to
He's
Yuma.
amazing. What he does with his body is incredible. I mean, he's the preeminent actor of his generation when it comes to like full on body transformation. The way that, what he did for The Machinist, and then he like bulks back up again for something else. Really incredible body transformations. It takes an enormous level of discipline and focus and really extraordinary psychological gifts to be able to do that with your body. It's amazing. It's something I struggle with because whether I'm Mediterranean, maybe it's my Greek appetite or something, but I'm hungry all the time. I'm always hungry. It's something like appetite is like after the thing we know about appetite's like my big problem in my life, especially for somebody who loves to fat shame for a living. It's a real issue. I have to be like, okay, I'm not eating for a week now at all, because otherwise, no, it's a challenge. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, well, we you probably don't know this because I've been a little bit on the QT with it, but except the reason that the forthcoming feminism book on Sophia Institute Press, originally co-authored by my brother and I, got broken up and temporarily not canceled, because Sophia's been very cool about it. They're going to publish the book with me as author, and Dave's going to publish it with Michael Voris because he's there at Church Militant. But it was a fat shaming tweet that originally got Dave in trouble with our publisher. A female comedian picked it up. He went into Walmart and he said, "Feminism, thanks a lot for something," and it was fat shaming that did it. So it's been relevant to both of our lives.
It's really difficult to know because everybody's so sensitive. Like, my instinctive thing would be, well, screw them then. But you've taken the decision to stay with that publisher because presumably doing a calculus, being like, well, I can do more good with a good book that comes out with the right whatever. It's very difficult to figure this stuff out sometimes.
It's a little different in the Catholic world. I mean, that's where these guys that stick with me, and I was on a multi-book deal with them anyway. They're the ones that picked up Catholic Republic after I took it back over from Dangerous, and they got a good man running it, and it's not like an old guy, and he's stuck with me, so I stick with them, and I appreciate what they've done.
It's just terrifying when people get upset about, and it's always class warfare as well, objecting to how ordinary people speak. People make jokes. People talk about fats, thins, blacks, whites. It's one of the ways that we connect and bond. It's one of the ways we show our like tribal leadership. Like, we just do this, and this like class warfare that's waged from the coastal cities out on the rest of us is very upsetting. It's very upsetting because I've always found traveling in America, and I've been, been to the real South where you live now. I've been to Appalachia. I've been everywhere, and it's true that in some parts of the country, there isn't the same degree of I don't want to say sophistication. That's not really what I mean. There aren't as I think what it really boils down to is there aren't as complex and varied consumer choices. There isn't this kind of like culture of consumption, whether it's media or everything else. There aren't streets of fashion stores, but there's so much honesty and truth and real. And I don't want to sound like somebody patronizing or fetishizing, the South, but I feel so much safer and happier and to start up a conversation with somebody in Appalachia or the Deep South, knowing that they're much more likely to be speaking to me in good faith and from the heart, than these places that masquerade as moral arbiters. It's very distressing to see an entirely respectable, decent, and noble culture just be like laughed out of publishing and laughed off the TV. So it doesn't really happen in England. I mean, there's a little bit of it, but we basically celebrate our regions in England. We're quite, in fact, almost to the point of being a bit woke about it. You know, like the BBC will open an office in Manchester because we're really kind of like over the top about making sure that, you know, the regions feel loved. Whereas it's quite the opposite here. In America, you have like this schism, this split country where one half of the country is just constantly the butt of the jokes, and the bottom line is they're the good guys. It's very difficult to watch, but
that's interesting. Yeah, the South. I once got into a debate with a law school professor of mine. She loved me. She was a liberal. She would dialogue with me more than anyone else in the class, and she was always saying, "Oh, you know, bigotry, that's judging something you don't know." She's like, "That's what the people in the South do." And I was like, "Hey, I mean, I don't think you've been there. You're a Brooklyner. You've come to San Diego. Have you been there?" And she had to say, "Well, no." I'm like, well, "Come
it's
on."
astonishing. It's astonishing. But this
joke.
is because, look, I mean, the reason, quite often the reason that the right loses so often and so much is that they have no idea how human psychology works. These liberal TV shows are not made to be entertaining. They are structured to persuade in ways that you don't realize when you're watching them. So if you know a psychiatrist or a psychologist, ask them to talk to you, because they all know about this. Ask them to talk to you about the way the Daily Show is structured, and they will tell you this 8-minute segment which says something and then does a joke and then laughs at it and then repeats the pattern. It's all designed in your mind to associate certain things with ridicule, so that you want to be separated from them. So they'll mention, they'll mention Trump, or they'll mention, Tennessee or Mississippi or whatever, and there'll be a sneer and a laugh. And this is, these attitudes are created over generations through this reinforcement. And it's like the right doesn't realize they're very simple, immutable aspects of human psychology. You don't persuade people with facts and reason and logic. No one ever has. Yeah. You persuade people with repetition and emotional association. This is why I always thought that the poison dwarf, Ben Shapiro, that's why I always thought his phrase was so stupid. Facts don't care about your feelings. It's literally and exactly wrong. If you in fact do want to persuade somebody of something, facts are your worst bet, the worst case. You persuade somebody something by telling them it all the time, and by associating a specific set of emotions, ridicule, disgust, the rest of it, with whatever it is, and they got it down pat, So the reason that people say, like this woman, oh, that's what they do down the South, she's absorbed all of this from what a psychiatrist would say is literally just conditioning. These shows are not made to be entertaining. That's why they're not funny, because their primary purpose isn't to be funny. Their primary purpose is to ingrain values, and they've been absolutely astonishingly good at it.
Yeah.
Because because these things are engineered against you, just like the food you eat is engineered against you. McDonald's, spends millions of dollars a year on food technologists whose job is not to make McDonald's food taste the best, but to engineer it so that it has just the right levels of fat, salt, and sugar, so your body craves more of it almost as soon as you've finished. This you don't realize. This is why I think a lot of us on the right and on the kind of like messy populist right are beginning to lose our love for capitalism, because we're seeing the final result of it is it's almost impossible to just to live. All these industries have these extraordinarily sophisticated and effective ways of rewiring people's brains, from comedy shows to burgers to the way things are laid out in Target, and I don't blame people at all who want to just bomb out and say, let's go, live on a farm, buy some land and go turkey hunting, because although civilization, kivis, the word, means living in cities, like to have a civilization means to live in a city. But I don't blame people at all for wanting to just get the what out of there, because we're at a stage now where there's such a degree of really diabolical sophistication in the liberal media ecosystem and the economy generally and everything. It's almost impossible to live a virtuous and good life, because your brain is being constantly rewired by these dreadful people.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. This is probably one of the gayest things I've ever said on this show. But there is a certain sense in which you're both right. There's a bimodal distribution between when the medium is monologic, which all these shows, everything you're saying about them is, I think you're saying it's brutally efficient for the medium to be spitting
basically just associations, which is genius. Just Trump is ew, he's icky. Don't hang out with him. You should, if you liked him before, you shouldn't like him after you watch the show. And all of that is purely emotions. Don't care about your facts. But there's a kind of turn. I'm using all these prestige images because we just watched that movie. The turn is kind of the second moment where it becomes dialogic, where if you can get one of these harpies or the ultimate cultural weaklings, the centrists, to kind of just listen to you, and it does become a dialogic moment where they're not just being spoken at by a box.
It's not my experience. It's not my experience. My experience is that people already know that the right is right, and part of the reason that a lot of people resent and hate conservatives so much is because they know they're right, but they can't bring themselves to go along with it. My experience, this is why Trump was so great, because he got people to say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to vote Republican, because they're right about everything. It's not my experience at all. I don't think people need persuading. I think people are already fairly well versed on both sides of the issue. It's just that they choose tribally and emotionally and on the basis of repetition instead of reason. Every black American I know, and I know a lot of them, knows that the Democrat Party abuses and lies to them, but is going to vote for them anyway, because what the Democrat Party successfully did was tie the fate of Black America to the fate of the Democratic Party. If it were true that you can kind of break through to people and then spit, they already know it all. They already know it all. They know everything that you're going to say, and they just don't care because they vote tribally and emotionally. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's how it really works.
Yeah, it's not. So bimodal distribution is. I tend to agree. More with you. It's not 50% of the time. And the race issue is like, come on, who cares about this? Boomers? No one. There's no racist whites out there in the mainstream. They've been driven from our midst, and I mean that's fine. Racism is bad. It's
I don't know any racists in real life. Like I tried to find some. I mean, sure, there's some 17-year-olds on Telegram, right, and it's the only reliable source of racism I can find in America. I don't know anyone.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I moved to Mississippi.
Well, I should be specific. I don't know any white racists.
Yeah.
I know plenty of Hispanics.
Yeah. But the feminism issue, about which my forthcoming book will be, I think people need to be red-pilled against it. I think there's so much poison in it. I think this issue is our generation's issue.
Didn't I finish this off? Is anybody still describing themselves as a feminist? Didn't I beat them already?
No, but it's transmogrified. Far fewer. I just went through all these stats. Far fewer women call themselves feminists, but there's
like 7% in England, and not much higher here.
But here's the thing: they're all feminists. So the label. This is a topic for another show. But generally speaking, I think you're right. I don't think bimodal distribution is the right thing. I feel
like you're machine gunning a corpse doing a book on feminism in like 2022.
Well, you gotta read the Catholic popes and the bimillennial tradition on it. It is a lot of surprise, even you.
I know you're going to teach me a lot I don't know, so I'll look forward to reading it.
Yeah, I just wanted to closing, because I know you're on your way out, and I really do appreciate your time. But I wanted to give you some Southern gentlemen of leisure fashion tips. Just because we're on our way out. Okay. You showed me what you were working with in your interview.
I had some overalls on, a Carhartt bib and stuff. Yeah, I was doing pretty well there.
Say it with me, Milo. Coverall. In the South, they're coveralls.
They're coveralls.
Yeah, they won't accept you as a straight man if you call them overalls.
Coveralls.
But that's good. Your headgear to go with that should have several of the Bill of Rights amendments on there.
Yeah,
first, the second, the 9th, and the 10th are acceptable. The criminal procedure amendments, 4th, 5th, 6th, that's pretty gay.
The design aspect there are just have some guns embroidered somewhere and some camo somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And like a message on the side, it says Bill of Rights Enforcement. I'm not sure what that means, but
so it's that pseudo-militaristic, pseudo-law enforcement kind of. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Right.
Next time I talk to you, I promise to have more heterosexual headwear.
Good with those 4 amendments: 1st, 2nd, 9th, 10th. Those are key.
Although I also feel like if you wanted truly heterosexual headwear, you could just have repeal the 19th and nothing else.
Yeah, not in the Bill of Rights, but that would be super based hetero. Yes.
Yeah. That's probably the way I'll go. But you did spark the idea, so thank you.
Yeah, perfect. This is also headgear. This is legit, and this is real hunting stuff. That's more comical. This is rabbit fur. I know you like the furs, and this actually this actually is efficient. It does a purpose. It covers. I was hunting today.
Isn't it
and
too hot?
No. I mean, it's getting warm, but you need something for hearing protection. This is a rabbit fur bomber. This is one of my favorite hats, and that's
It does look pretty cool. All right, I'll add that to my list.
okay. Cool. Now, any straight man that that wants footwear will go.
To do this. I've been giving 8 hours of interviews a day for 2 weeks, and nobody has gone to the trouble of doing this. I'm so grateful. Please continue.
This is mainly my wife. This is footwear. We went from head to foot, and this is straight man knows to go to.
This I don't know if I can do.
It's too much. You go to the source, the Payless shoe source.
No, please.
But you want to be straight. This can be the last thing. Go head to toe.
No. Look, straight is a process. For me,
trust the process.
I'm gonna respectfully decline on the ugly shoes, but I will. But everything else up to there, you can expect to see it.
Okay, do shoes last. That's fine, Milo. Look, man, we care. We here in the Gordon household, we care. My wife's a big fan.
Look, I'm very grateful for the tips. There's just some things I won't do, even for my mortal soul, and those shoes do fall into that category. But but I'll work on it.
The next is a lovely garment coming all the way from Billabong.
You could do,
and it's a board short. I literally once wore these. Yeah, when I was fired or whatever back in June, whatever you want to call it, I had been wearing these board shorts, and of course, showering in between. But I think I wore them every day. I probably wore them. Did I wear them to any weddings last summer? I just every time I'm wearing them a lot.
To mass and to funerals.
Yeah, mass and funeral.
That whatever is in my wardrobe, the key thing is just to make it much, much smaller than it currently is. Because it doesn't matter how you choose to dress, but you don't need 20 suits. 2 is okay. So
right.
I asked Father Calloway whether the fur and Louis Vuitton is on a continuum with the homosexuality, and whether I'm going to have to eventually say goodbye to them. And he said, probably yes. So we'll get there, baby steps. But I am understanding that this is part of a larger and more general uncovering and unveiling a process of me living better, and the sexual urges is just one component of that. So I will be making strides to slash at the size of my wardrobe. You might even see me in the same clothes twice.
Holy cow! That would be super straight. Yeah, no, we're just having a little bit of fun here today, but we're super supportive of the Milo, but and big fans in the household. But yeah, last 2 items. Please. This is a garment. It's a sort of vaguely themed beach garment. That means
rock. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, California. This is a California or America themed tank tops are super straight.
Both look a little bit faggy to me, but I understand that. I understand that in context with the right boots. Right. And when you've been working out a little bit, I understand that they probably come across a lot better than I'm seeing them now. Yeah. So I think if I were to wear them now, I think that they would probably be look a little bit too fabulous. But I'll bear them in mind. I think that's a stage 2 or a stage 3 garment.
Very important to wear a collared shirt with the board short. Would you like to?
Yeah, this is what I'm wearing a lot of times. This is wrinkle-free. This is an untuck it.
Oh, no iron shirts. So this is something that I have never allowed in my house, which now I'm beginning to engage with. The concept of the no iron shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. It's a quality garment, more expensive than.
I feel like we might be moving in opposite directions. There's you saying it's lovely, and you're doing your best QVC presenter, and we all know how many heterosexuals are on QVC. No, I'm just
100%.
Yes, yeah. I'm worried we might be. I didn't realize that me going straight was going to be a zero-sum game, and that the church would get me but lose you.
Never. Look at this. Look at this beauty sitting. No, just. On the tank tops, the important thing is you need to lift a little bit of the weights, a little bit to moderate amount, totally straight. You lift too much of the weights, you slip right off the other edge of the boat, and you go to the other side. So you wind up back in it's a circle.
Gay, it's all about pushing boundaries and being transgressive and breaking taboos. With being straight, there are so many rules. there's so everybody has an opinion about no, that's gay. I'm just like, my God, the boundary of acceptable everything is just getting so narrow. Yeah. But it's okay. It's all right.
Particularly in traditional Catholic circles, I'm sick of the LARPing. But that's
I'm not. You see, the thing is, I'm not under any illusions that people like that will ever be especially fond of me, and I'm not especially fond of a lot of the more affected, people who wear like 3-piece tweed suits, every day because they're all. These people have just read, like Brideshead Revisited 5 times a year, every year, since the day they were born, and they're gesturing toward a Britain that never really existed, and it's a very aristocrats in Britain would wear, and still do, raggedy, faded, patched. Like if you're at a dinner party and someone there is an earl or something, they'll be the one with the ramshackle car outside that barely starts. It's not like what America thinks it is. It's not like on the television. So you can spot fakes and frauds and phonies and pseuds and poseurs in America very, very easily, because they think that British aristocracy is analogous to American glamour, and in many cases it's the opposite. So those people who wear they're getting suits cut and they're wearing perfectly ironed pocket squares and all the rest of it. They just look like ludicrous phonies to me.
Well, that brings us to the last wardrobe item, which is not a wardrobe item at all. It's actually linguistic, auditory. You're going to have to, as the very last step, if this is like a 11-step process, you're going to have to lose the accent, because all Americans secretly think that the British accent means gay. So,
well, I'm losing it already. I mean, I did not start my life speaking like this, and I know that I sound probably still mostly British, but I have lost. Just the very fact that I say British, I am losing it step by step. So I think that's going to take care of itself.
Yeah, for sure. Well, actually, you texted me, man.
I call my mother not very often, obviously, but on the rare occasion I speak to my mother once or twice a year. She will say, "Could you call me back, please, when you're not putting that stupid accent on?" And so I have to. What I do, I swear this is what I do. I will go and watch British TV for half an hour to reset my accent before I call my mother, because she just can't bear to hear this weird mid-Atlantic thing I've got going on now.
That's funny. That's genuinely funny, but it's fancy. And it sounds fancy, and we don't trust it, particularly here in Mississippi. It's
taking care of itself, so that one I'm not too worried about. On the other stuff, it's been a mixture of enthusiasm and deferral, but I am certainly grateful for the tips, and I, aside from the shoes, I will be instituting all of that at some point.
No, I don't even like those shoes. I don't wear those. I guess I'm not even that straight, and my wife's holding it back up. That's just a horrible looking.
They're just they're so ugly. They look like something that came out of the back of an animal. They're just, if you saw that in a field, you'd be careful not to step on it. No, I can't do that.
No, don't. Still have great footwear, but the rest of these suggestions will steer you toward the sunny shores of heterosexuality in a sure way. It's
I sure am appreciative of that, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, God bless you, Milo. Hey, I appreciate the time you've spent with us here on Rules for Retrogrades. And, if you ever want to come back on the show, you're always welcome. And I'd love to have you back on. The rest of you guys out there, pray for Milo. Continue to pray for him. You do have a lot of, I don't want to sell Catholic Traditionalist short. I don't like the 3-piece suit, particularly tweed wearers. They don't like me, but
I'm just talking about a tiny little sliver of real tryhards.
Yeah,
who are in the same bracket as the people in Washington D.C. who wear bow ties because they think it's sophisticated and British. It isn't. You look like a twit. Stop it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't want. I mean, look, I'm a Latin Mass guy. I don't want anyone to infer from this conversation that I am not a traditionalist Catholic, because by any definition I am. I just don't like phonies, and there is a little, and we're talking about 2%. It's obviously one of your personal bugbears, which is why we got into it. But yeah, no. Right? It's you don't need to try so hard.
Yeah. Just go to Latin Mass. It's the better. I always tell them it's look, man, if you go to a Sunday matinee with a couple members of your family and you can't decide on a movie,
you split up, two of you go to movie A, two go to movie B, and you come back over dinner and you're talking about it. The ones that got to see the good movie, they don't, there's no merit in it, right? They don't deserve any plaudits. That's just, they got to see the better movie. That's the TLM. That's the Latin Mass. That doesn't mean they're better people. It's odd that some, a minority, but a non-negligible, statistically speaking, minority of the Latin Massers, a large minority, let's say, will come back and they're acting like there's plaudits that are to be,
I see.
received.
Here, and perhaps we'll do this another show another time, but here is where you and I differ slightly, because I believe in the power of snobbery and public shaming, and so if we do, as we surely must, want people to attend the real mass, then I see no problem in a little bit of social pressure in that direction. So you and I differ slightly on that point, but it's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's do it another time. Milo, God bless you,
God
man.
bless. Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon. Peace.
Cheers. God bless.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst